He's the new president of the European Parliament at what is, without doubt, one of the worst moments for Europe. Does he have what it takes to steer the Union through the most violent storm in its history and to guide it towards a new future? My guest in this edition of The Global Conversation is Antonio Tajani, President of the European Parliament. President Antonio Tajani, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me.
Soon, European leaders will meet in Rome to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Treaties of Rome. Some people have compared this to musicians playing on the Titanic as it was going under. Do you feel like the captain of a sinking ship?
Absolutely not. I feel like a sailor who's working hard to survive the storm, and I'm convinced that we will ride out the storm and reach a safe harbour. Why? Because Europeans have already proved that they're capable of resolving problems when they're in trouble. And we rose to the challenge after the Second World War. Thanks to Europe, we've had 70 years of peace and freedom.
But the context is very different now.
There are three big issues. Unemployment, particularly among young people, representing the future of the European Union. Illegal immigration and terrorism. We've not yet won the battle against Daesh.
Are those your main priorities for the future, the ones on which the European Union will focus?
They are. And there's also the issue of Brexit. For the first time, a country is asking to leave the Union. We will all have to work together. It's not the right time for conflict between the European institutions. The Parliament, over which I have the honour of presiding, the European Commission, the Council, and Member States must all work together for our citizens. Our only purpose should be to provide answers to our fellow citizens. That's our goal.
The European Commission has set out 5 proposals for a future European Union. The proposal for a multi-speed Europe seems to be the most popular.
If by multi-speed we mean having 2, 3 or 4 countries leading the way, that's no bad thing. For example, take European defence policy. If France, Germany, Spain and Italy decide to press ahead in order to open up a new way of doing things, to strengthen the foreign policy of the European Union, if they do this without excluding other countries, but lead the way in order to prepare the ground for the others, that doesn't send out a bad message, it sends out a good one.
What will you do about the countries which don't subscribe to this vision? Will they meet with restrictions and find themselves set apart?
Absolutely not. We all have to move ahead together. If a multi-speed Europe means that someone tries to lead the way, it's a good thing. If, on the other hand, those at the forefront try to push the others to one side, it's a failing.
Poland has clearly stated that it wants to work against current European ambitions. How will you treat partners like Poland?
There will always be political debate. In such a big union, there are bound to be different ideas. It's a union that consists of different member states, and each member state tries to defend its policies as far as is compatible with the overall strategy. We held elections for the President of the European Council, Donald Tusk. Poland voted against, and the others for him. That's democracy.
If Germany plays an even more important role in a future EU, won't that just fuel the arguments of populists who say that Germany gets to decide everything?
We have to understand why citizens vote for these parties. If there's unease, obviously, they'll want to send a message to politicians, to the other parties. That's why it's important to focus on the problems and not on the populist parties. You saw that in the Netherlands they didn't win. Why? Because the Prime Minister gave the people some concrete answers.
The elections in France are the next test. Do you have a strategy in place for if the Front National comes to power?
I think that there's everything to play for, and I'm not sure that the Front National will win the elections. The position of my party on this matter is clear. The position of the Parliament is not a populist one. There's only one strategy: responding to the people, providing answers, resolving the problems of unemployment, immigration and terrorism, and resolving the issue of Brexit. The first thing to do is settle the divorce. After the divorce, we'll decide how to manage the relationship between the EU and the UK.
Great Britain has now raised the possibility of leaving the negotiations without an agreement, going so far as to say that it would be the Union that would suffer the most if no agreement was reached. What do you say to that?
I think it would be worse for them, and that it's important not to get angry when statements are made. The British are perfectly capable of reaching agreements. So we have to remain cautious and defend our interests, but without ever forgetting that after the divorce, Great Britain will continue to have a voice in the European Union. The UK is leaving the EU but remains a European country.
Another problem confronting the EU is immigration. You've raised the possibility of having refugee camps in a country such as Libya. Is this a possibility for the future?
I think we need to allow refugees to be welcomed in positive circumstances. That is, with doctors, medicine, and someone to defend their right to life. We need to work with the UN on this issue. We need organizations that are able to welcome...
But how would this be possible in Libya, a country that's in disarray?
We have to start in the south, in sub-Saharan African countries. After that, once the situation in Libya has been resolved, we'll be able to do the same thing there. We still need to prevent the Mediterranean from becoming a cemetery, and the situation is already complicated. It's not enough to have camps. We have to invest more in Africa.
One of your biggest allies in this crisis is Turkey, with whom relations are increasingly explosive. Can you continue to work with Turkey to find a solution to the migration crisis?
Those are two different things. Turkey is still a partner. I think that after the referendum campaign, Ankara will reduce its polemic, and that therefore we need to press ahead with the agreements. Of course, we defend our rights, and no one can say that a European country is a Nazi country. That's unacceptable. We're the heart of freedom, democracy, and the defense of human rights. So we can always listen to advice, but we can never accept anyone who's going to tell us that we are Nazis.
What would it take to revoke Turkey's candidacy for membership of the EU?
Why revoke it? If there are difficult moments, we must try to resolve them at a diplomatic level. We need to understand the problems the Turks have, while continuing to defend our values of freedom of expression, democracy, and human rights.
Now let's talk about you. Your predecessor, Martin Schulz, was very close to the President of the Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, who'll leave the job at the end of his mandate. We sometimes refer to the solitude of power. Is this something you've experienced?
Never. I've never experienced solitude. I talk to my colleagues, I eat with them. I'm elected, whether in Italy or here in Europe, by the consensus of citizens and MEPs. So I never have the problem of solitude. I don't suffer from that problem.
Antonio Tajani, thank you for being with us.